What's up, EFD? Today we're counting down 5 myths about your managers that aren't true. Let's go. 5. Antonio Conte is a defensive manager. When Antonio Conte recently became linked with the Man United and Tottenham jobs, the reports were generally received positively. The Italian coach has developed a reputation for taking on underperforming squads and squeezing out every bit of their potential, with a league title usually the result. But while concerns over his ability to build a long-term project are certainly valid, even if he left Juventus, Chelsea and Inter Milan in a much better situation than what he inherited, one of the more puzzling arguments that skeptics have raised is that he is a defensive coach. For fans of United, who endured years of turgid football under Van Gaal and Mourinho, and fans of Spurs, who long returned to the glory days of Pochettino, welcoming in a defensive manager would certainly not be ideal. But when you look at Conte's managerial career, the notion that he plays defensive football doesn't hold up. Yes, his sides have always been built on superb defences, while he is the most notable top manager of the last decade to have consistently adopted a 3-at-the-back system. His sides are also well known for being particularly dangerous on the counter-attack. However, that doesn't make him a defensive coach, and it certainly doesn't mean his teams play boring football. Inter's 89-goal haul last term was the biggest by any Serie A side not named Atalanta in the last 3 years, and was also the largest managed by a Nerazzurri side since 1951, with Romelu Lukaku scoring more goals than Ronaldo Nazario managed at the San Siro, doing so in fewer appearances than him too. And while the Belgian striker was very much the spearhead of Conte's attack, 11 different squad members hit at least 3 goals in their victorious league campaign, while 10 registered at least 3 assists. His system was still very much built for the whole team to contribute in the final third. By comparison, Pep Guardiola's 2017-18 Man City side, considered by many to be the greatest attacking team in Premier League history, also had 11 different players score 3 or more, while 9 registered 3 or more assists. These may be very surface level statistics, but they're enough to illustrate that Conte is far from a conservative manager. Meanwhile, his Juventus team, despite possessing Europe's most formidable defensive cohort in Buffon, Barzagli, Bonucci and Chiellini, were not overly reliant on them, with Conte employing a high-pressing system to overwhelm opponents and win back possession quickly, something that suited the strengths of Arturo Vidal in particular. And while his title-winning team at Chelsea ranked 4th in the Premier League for shots and 5th for possession, his emphasis on hard work and super-fast transitions made the Blues a very exciting watch. Not to mention the fact he set a new record for games won in a Prem season. If Antonio Conte is a defensive manager, then almost no coach can claim not to be. 4. Club legends shouldn't return to manage. The recent experiences of Frank Lampard, Andrea Pirlo and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have done little for the romantics in football who want to see glorious returns to the dugout for club legends. While Solskjaer remains in his job for now, it doesn't look like he is able to mount a title challenge with a seriously talented squad. Lampard was afforded no special treatment by Roman Abramovich at Chelsea, deemed incapable of meeting the expectations that came with a record spending spree, while Pirlo became the first Juventus manager since Luis Del Neri in 2011 to fail to win Serie A, almost missing out on Champions League football in the process. Lampard and Pirlo are yet to find new jobs, while it's hard to imagine Solskjaer working at anywhere near as high a level once his time at Man United is up. And these kind of stories are nothing new. A similar fate has been laid upon players like Clarence Seedorf, whose short spell as Milan manager left him jobless for 2 years before joining Chinese Super League outfit Shenzhen. He was replaced by Filippo Inzaghi, who only lasted a year before taking up a job in the 3rd tier with Venezia. Another example is Alan Shearer, who was the fall guy for Newcastle's relegation in 2009 and has been firmly on the pundits' sofa since, while Anderlecht golden boy Vincent Kompany currently has the Belgian Giants in 6th, having finished 18 points off Pro League winners Club Brugge in his first full season as manager. And the less said about Thierry Henry's time at Monaco, the better. So it's understandable why many see it as a poisoned chalice. But while hiring a club legend can carry big risks, it can also pay off in a big way. Kenny Dalglish stepped up for Liverpool and won a league title in his first season as player-manager, with 2 more to follow before their 30-year drought. Johan Cruyff implemented total football at Barcelona and won them their first ever European Cup. Pep Guardiola, meanwhile, a student of Cruyff, followed in his path and gave Barca their first ever treble in his first season, following just a year's worth of experience managing the B team. And at Real Madrid, Zinedine Zidane became the first manager to win back-to-back UCL titles in his first 18 months in the dugout. Other success stories include Jurgen Klopp at Mainz and the aforementioned Antonio Conte at Juventus. The failure of legendary players to cut it as managers at their clubs clearly has more to do with just the pressure that comes with it. Like with any coaches, some are just a bad fit. 3. José Mourinho is still a world-class manager. The last 6 years of José Mourinho's career have been mixed to say the least. They kicked off with a total meltdown as he spectacularly failed to retain the Premier League title in his second stint at Chelsea, with his side sitting 1 point above the relegation zone when he was sacked in December 2015. And it's fair to say he has struggled to recapture the magic of the first 10 years of his career since then, winning just 2 major trophies, the English League Cup and the Europa League. And they were hardly world-beating triumphs, with his Man United side narrowly beating Southampton in the 2017 EFL Cup final, having been largely outplayed by them, and scraping through an easy run to the final of the Europa that included Rostov, Anderlecht and Celta Vigo. And while the decision by Tottenham to sack him a week before their own EFL Cup final meeting with Man City in 2021 was bizarre, his side had been similarly fortunate to get there, not even having to play their third round tie with Leyton Orient due to a COVID-related technicality, and playing just 1 Premier League side en route to the showpiece. And yet a significant portion of fans and pundits still refer to the Portuguese as one of Europe's very best coaches. In 2020, Mikel Arteta even argued that he remained a world-class manager, reasoning that he had won silverware at every club he'd been at, and that despite his reputation as a defensive coach, his teams still score a lot of goals. But unfortunately for Mourinho, that simply isn't true anymore. His Real Madrid side may have been one of the most ferocious attacking forces Europe has ever seen, scoring a record 121 La Liga goals in 2011-12. But by 2017-18, his knack for constructing ruthless counter-attacking teams had seemingly dried up. Despite boasting Romelu Lukaku, Alexis Sanchez, Paul Pogba and Marcus Rashford, his United side ranked 5th in the league for goals scored and 6th for expected goals. And despite possessing the Premier League's best striker in Harry Kane while at Tottenham, his side ranked 9th for expected goals in 2021. And his defensive coaching leaves a lot to be desired these days too. Despite his aforemention that leading Man United to a Premier League runners-up spot was his greatest ever achievement, it was really David De Gea's, as the Spanish stopper continually saved an incredibly undisciplined back line that conceded more shots than Watford. Last season, Spurs ranked 11th for both shots and expected goals conceded. And despite a promising first month at Roma, the usual red flags are already beginning to appear, with Mourinho throwing his players under the bus following their humiliating defeat to Bodo Glimt in the Europa Conference League. Good enough to still manage in a top 5 league? Yes, but world class? Far from it. 2. Young coaches lack authority. Similarly to our previous point on club legends returning to manage at the stadiums where they made their name, there has long been a line of thought among some sections of the football community that young coaches, especially those who are still around the same age as senior players, lack the experience and authority to be successful at big clubs. This was particularly true when André Villas-Boas, then just 33 years old, took over at Chelsea in 2011. By this point, the Blues had a well-established, experienced core, who had won trophies under José Mourinho, Gus Hiddink and Carlo Ancelotti, with Frank Lampard and Didier Drogba less than a year younger than the Portuguese coach. It was a disaster. His tactics failed, his team selections drew massive criticism, and there was a sense that he lacked authority within the dressing room. He was sacked after just 8 months, and years later Lampard suggested that he had been too young for the task at hand. And following Lampard's own sacking by the Blues in 2021, Gary Neville even claimed that the former midfielder and other teammates had rung up members of the press with a view to getting Villas-Boas sacked 9 years earlier. However, while that particular job may not have been right for Villas-Boas, it doesn't mean that managers of his age can't hold authority at elite clubs. The shining example of this is of course Julian Nagelsmann, who took over a Bayern Munich squad filled with world-class veterans at the age of 33. Captain Manuel Neuer is older than him, while Thomas Müller and Robert Lewandowski aren't much younger. And yet, his tactical ingenuity and excellent man management skills have seen him quickly improve an already incredible side. But whatever he achieves at Bayern, his time at Hoffenheim will arguably always be more impressive. Hired as head coach when he was just 28, he saved the club from relegation before achieving back-to-back top 4 finishes. Without having the full trust of the dressing room, that would never have been possible. 1. Ronald Koeman is a terrible manager. When Ronald Koeman took over at Barcelona in the summer of 2020, most accepted that he had a mightily tough job on his hands. Lionel Messi was pushing to leave amid a civil war with President Josep Bartomeu, while the club was beginning to impose major spending cuts following years of gross financial mismanagement. And with a presidential election looming, it was generally expected that whoever won would most likely get rid of the former Netherlands boss. When he was finally sacked in late October 2021, Koeman had overseen the club's worst start to a season in 34 years. Fans attacked his car following his third successive El Clasico loss, while President Joan Laporta suggested that he should have sacked him sooner. He had seemingly lost the respect of both the fans and his employers. But while he may not be one of the world's best, Koeman is still a very capable coach. Given Messi's huge importance to the side, whoever was in the Barca dugout would have likely struggled following his departure, while the team's increasingly worrying defence has far more to do with the club's consistent failure to properly invest in it, rather than any particular shortcomings on the coaching end. And when he found the right system, Koeman's side were actually pretty amazing, arguably playing better football than under any previous coach since Luis Enrique during the second half of the 2020-21 campaign, dropping just 6 points between December and April. And while it may have been necessitated to an extent by the club being unable to spend, Koeman also blooded the next generation of Barca stars, with Pedri, Ronald Araujo, Gavi and Nico Gonzalez all becoming regulars under his tutelage. It may have ended ugly, but Ronald Koeman's time at the Camp Nou will no doubt come to be remembered in more positive terms in the future. So those were our 5 managerial myths that aren't true, but can you think of any more? Let us know in the comments below, and if we get enough good suggestions, we'll do a part 2. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like and subscribe to Euro Football Daily if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.